Job we're going to tackle today is replacing the rear wheel bearing on a Pajero. This is an NS model. We're going to jack up one wheel at a time, do each side individually. So this is basically what you're going to need to do the job. Your regulars like your jack and your jack stand. You're going to need a big torque wrench with a 36mm socket. You need a 12 and a 70mm socket, breaker bars. You need some big levers, 4mm split pins, sorted things just to knock about with, a little strap to hold something out of the way, and something to create some fire so that you can unseize things. That's all you need to do this job. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this into four-wheel low lock, and that's going to lock all the wheels together, and I'll show you the effect of that later. So all we need to do is just pop it into neutral, cycle through here into there, and then we're just going to pop that into park. Very important, leave the handbrake off. Of course, we're going to put wooden block under the opposite wheel, the opposite end of where we're working on. Now we're just going to jack them up, and we're going to place the jack right underneath the where the coil is. Make sure she's in place, and then just jack it up. Now, good way of checking if your wheel bearings are stuffed. That obviously should not be doing that. Sure sign of something not right. So it's purely personal preference whether you put the jack stand in before or after you take the wheel off. Personally, I find it's easier to put the jack stand in underneath when the wheel's out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and do that first. Righto, so we take that wheel off. Just pop him under there for a second. Now, because we're going to be working in and around here, one thing we don't want to do is probably put our jack stand under here. So what I like to do is put it under here, and with the help of a assistant, you can just pump that jack up a bit. Thank you, Lana. And we can just pop that underneath. That's it. Done. Next, we're going to take the brake caliper off. Park it up to the side here somewhere. And you can take that off very easily with a 17mm socket. So you can see here there's the bolt at the top, and there's another one just down here. So undo both of those, and this caliper can just slide away. So we've got our two caliper bolts out now. Take the caliper off. What I do is I put this little strap up here. This just slides right off, and then I just put that through the hole there, and that'll just keep it suspended and out of the way. Now I'm going to take the dust cap off. So I've got my trusty little cold chisel and a hammer, and you're just going to get it into there and work your way around just gently, because you are using the cold chisel. Sufficiently loosen the cap off, you should be able to just tap it here like this, and that'll force that cap off. Okay, so now we're going to take the split pin off the axle nut cover. That's obviously locked in with the split pin so that the nut can't move around, and then we're going to take the nut, and then there's a washer behind that as well. Now these can be real bastards to get out. See, mine's just snagged in there a little bit by that nut cap. So I've actually just removed the head down here And then I'm just going to rip these out through the top one at a time. See if I can move that. It's easier to pull it out through the top with that head, because I'm not going to reuse this anyway. You should always put a new split pin in. Split pin out. Let's put the cap out. We can see our nut. You are going to need a 36mm socket to get this bad boy out. Now, because that's been put on at well over 200 Newton meters of torque, you are going to need a lot more leverage than that. So get yourself a bit of steel that's going to slide over that breaker bar, and you may even have to stand on it, to be honest. But you've got to give yourself a lot of leverage, like that. So loosen that off. So just spin him off. And the other thing too is I haven't taken the brake rotor off yet, but I mean, you can take that off any time. It should just slide right off like that. Park him out of the way. Brake shoes, very low wear on this at all. Okay, so next thing we're going to do, this is a protective cover for this rotor position sensor over here. So we're going to take that off. That's a 12mm. Take that off so that we can get to the hub bolts here. We've got one there. I've got another one here. So just two bolts. Take them out, and then we'll be able to take this protective cover off. And removing that rotor position sensor. That's a 12mm as well. Just remove that. And just pull up a little bit. Pull him out of the way. And then we can remove that little shield. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the park brake shoes off. So it's just a matter of unclipping these springs, twist and turn old mate down here to pull that clip off, and then it'll all just come off. That'll give us easier access to the hub just behind there. There you have it. Okay, so you'll see here, it's very hard to try and get a socket down onto these hub bolts. So what a lot of people do at this point is they'll undo that, they'll undo down there, they'll undo up here and down here, and then they'll just take this whole suspension knuckle off and stick it in a vise or whatever, because that hub can actually get seized in there anyway. So some people have to press it out. What we're going to try first though is we just push the CV shaft in like that. We can actually then get a socket in there and tear that out. And then because now we've got access to behind where the hub bolts there, we can heat this with a little burner if these are seized in here, and it's probably a good idea just to whack them with a bit of heat anyway, because they are in there bloody tight. My heat, and I'll just run it around the outside just to expand that hole, and I'll keep doing that all the way around to try and unseize all that. make it easy to crack the bolt off. Again, using some extra leverage to try and crack this bugger. So I've loosened all those hub bolts off. I haven't taken them completely out, because what I'm going to do next is just set the socket and the extension bar on there, and I'm going to tap it, because what I want to do is just use those bolts to push this way, because this is in there real tight. You can try giving this a good blow with a hammer or a bit of a pry with the pry bar, and just to try and get it to move, because it's actually in there real good. So I'm going to try and get it out. So you can see how that's moved that now. And I should be able to just remove those, go ahead and remove those hub bolts now, and pry the rest of that out. There we have it. Little bugger. That's it. That is off. In here, where all this gunk, a lot of people get in there and just give that a bit of a touch up with some emery, just so it's nice and clean going in. You can see here it's affected by the weather. The ones on the front have like a little lip, like a weather seal over it, whereas the ones don't. The ones at the back don't. So the ones at the front are usually easier to get off than the ones on the back. This is the genuine Mitsubishi one, made in Japan. This one here, put in about 50,000 kilometers ago. Not an original part. You can just see how it moves. It's got a bit of play in it now. That is absolutely shagged. Where's this one? Brand bloody new. Hopefully no issues from that one. So lesson in there is to buy new, buy genuine. So I'm just going to clean mine up with a little bit of steel wool, just to get all the dirt out, make it nice and shiny when I put the new hub in. Righto, so now we're going to put the new hub onto the shaft. Slide him on. And let's give him a little bit of a move. There we go. And what we're going to do is get those bolts in from behind. And then that'll be, and then they'll pull it in and tighten it up. So what I find is the easiest way to put these brakes back on is put the adjuster in, touch the spring on the back, and then you can just sort of shimmy it up into place. You've got the little pins in the back, which we'll get to in a second. So it just sort of sits there. And then I've got a pin, and I'll just pop through in here. We just got this in here. It's the first one. And so that's all just sort of holding in there for the minute, because we've still got to put the springs in here. Just going to try and get this in here. Like that. And these will be held in place by the spring. Oops. So now it's time to put our nut on. Tension it up. I've got my torque wrench set to 220 Newton meters, which is a lot. So remember back at the start, we got the hubs all locked in on 4-wheel low. So the whole drivetrain now is solid. So when I go and do this up at 220 Newton meters, as you can hear there, that's up to torque. Now it's time to put the little locking ring in place, and you can see there the holes don't line up. So you just got to move it around a bit till you find that it lines up. It looks like it might be the way to go. I've got a brand new 4mm, this is 50mm long, but it's a 4mm split pin. Just whack him in, which pliers, just so you can lock him into place, like that. Then we get our dust cap, hop him back on. Again, a little tap. Going to put our the shield for our rotor back on. 2 bolts, 12mm again, which goes in the back. Now we're putting the brake rotor back on. Just goes in on place, and then down here, we'll just before we put the caliper back on, we'll just check the brake pads. Brake pads are still plenty of meat on them, which is good to see. So I'm just gonna should just slide straight back on. And then we just put the bolts back in the back. Again, 17mm, same size as the hub bolts on the back. Righto, so it's all back together. And as you can see, no more movement, which is the result.